Hello, everybody, and welcome to Free UFC Bet Picks. Thank you for tuning into our show today. We are breaking down UFC Vegas 14, Rafael dos Anjos versus Paul Felder. Paul Felder stepping in on short notice here for Makhachev after he fell out due to injury. Thank you to Paul Felder for stepping in and saving this card. He's got some serious guts coming in on such short notice against Rafael dos Anjos. So, yeah, thank you, Paul. We should all be thanking him.
Yes.
So we watched the weigh-ins and the stare-downs. This is going to be lightning round for you guys, super fast, 2 minutes per fight, everything you need, predictions, bets, daily fantasy advice, all of it. So let's get right into it here. Our first one is a heavyweight bout between Dontel Mays and Roque Martinez. Mays has a significant reach advantage here. He's the favorite at minus 240. And Martinez is the underdog at plus 187. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, should be an exciting fight. A lot of times the first fight of the night is an exciting finisher. A lot of times it ends up in the optimal lineup in daily fantasy. I don't know that that's necessarily the case this time, but should be an exciting fight. You know, Roque Martinez, we saw him get beat by Romanov, but he's pretty durable. He lasted to the second round there. He's primarily a grappler. He's pretty light on his feet, for his appearance. He's a fat guy. I can say it. He's a fat guy, but he's light on his feet. But he's not a great striker. He likes to kind of brawl in there. Dontel Mays, with the height and the reach, he's also more technical. Nice boxing. He goes to the body pretty well even. He does struggle with wrestlers, but I don't think that's really an issue here. Martinez is way undersized. Mays fights at Jackson Wink, a great gym that we have a lot of respect for. Mays should win. The only chance that Martinez has, I think, is if Mays does something stupid. He's done in the past, going a little overzealous, let's call it, going for a flying knee, slipping, landing on his butt. If that happens, Martinez can stay heavy on top of him for sure. Martinez has nice forearm chokes in the past, kind of like we just saw Romanov do last weekend to Rogerio de Lima.
Yeah.
Mays is a pretty safe parlay piece as far as this card goes. There's not a whole lot of safe parlay pieces here, but Mays should definitely get it done. I wouldn't get too tricky with the method and pick him by any certain prop or anything, because I could see him winning by knockout or decision. Martinez, his only real path is by submission. You can get him at plus 850, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. You're going to be picking up either of these guys for fantasy. Mays at 9,000, Martinez 7,200.
You want heavyweights, so typically with not that many heavyweight fights on the card, you would think these guys should be in almost every lineup. I actually don't think that should be the case necessarily. Mays is nice for especially cash games where you just want for sure winners, but I don't see either one of these guys winning in a super spectacular fashion. Neither one of them is especially chinny. It's funny to say that this fight could go to decision because in their last 6 or 7 fights, 3 for one of them, 4+ for the other, none of them have gone to decision. It's all finish, right, whether they win or lose. I think this one might break the trend. I think we might see a very slow third round. I think it's kind of a pass as far as heavyweight fights go for DFS.
All right, moving on to our next one here, a bantamweight bout between Tony Gravely and Geraldo de Freitas. Gravely is the favorite at minus 155, de Freitas the underdog at plus 125. What are your thoughts on this one?
Really good one. Gravely's got nice wrestling, nice kind of brawling type boxing. De Freitas is a little cleaner with the striking, nice kicks, nice snap on the end of his punches, keeps people at the end of his punches, and he's got great submission game. On tape, I think Gravely's definitely got this one. If you just look at the resume and you look at the tail of the tape, de Freitas starts to jump out at you as a live dog. He's got the reach and height like you mentioned. Gravely's been submitted like 5 times, I think, and even in his last fight, he got submitted by Brett Johns in the 3rd round, rear naked choke. But Brett Johns isn't like a submission wizard, fighting from guard. He's a wrestler going in there and just beasting you, putting ground and pound on you till you give up your back and rear naked choke you. Gravely doesn't get submitted by like Damian Maia type jiu-jitsu players. He got submitted, and it's been a while before that until his last one. So, odd as it sounds, he's been submitted 4 times. He's not going to get submitted by de Freitas. So I think Gravely's a pretty safe pick here.
Yeah. Picking either of these guys up for fantasy.
I think de Freitas is a fine pump play because if he wins, it is going to be by finish, probably by submission. Gravely could get takedowns, but to be a takedown fighter and score a lot of points, you need your opponent to keep getting up. So, Gravely doesn't necessarily score very high historically, even in his wins. It's kind of a pass. This one's likely going to decision in a pretty low-scoring affair.
Yeah.
But very exciting and very close fight.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our next one here. Women's strawweight between Randa Markos and Kanako Murata. Murata is coming into the UFC this weekend with her first fight. She's off of a 7-fight win streak. The favorite at -190. Markos, the underdog, at +135. What do you think about this one?
It's a good one. Randa Markos is a household name to UFC fans. She's been around forever. She was on The Ultimate Fighter back in the day, and she was kind of a fan favorite on the show because she was just a nice person, and there were some people, some girls trying to be bullies on there. So Randa Markos is kind of a fan favorite, right? She's got that red hair, and it was super red today. She just dyed that hair like this morning, I swear.
Yeah.
They both look shredded at the weigh-ins. Murata coming in on her debut. I mean, she's a former Invicta champ. She's had some shine on her before, right? But she showed no nervousness or anything today. She was super comfortable, kind of being funny and very chill on the scale. I think that Murata's going to get it done. I don't think Markos can submit her, and that would be, I think, either just outpointing her, keeping it on the feet, or submitting her are her only paths. I don't see either one of those happening. I think Murata is going to win a decision for sure. As a matter of fact, Murata by decision at +115 is a recommended bet.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we're seeing it the same way when we watched them. Murata's a stud. I think she's going to be a pretty exciting fighter to watch going forward. They both were shredded at the weigh-ins. Markos needed the box, what would have formerly been the towel. She was right at the weight limit, but she made it, and she looked fine energy. I don't have any concerns about her weight cut or anything, but her ring IQ is not that good. We saw her jump into Mackenzie Dern's guard and cost us a +100,000 parlay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, picked on a 14-fight card, picked everyone right except we knew Markos would win as long as she didn't jump into Mackenzie Dern's guard. Mackenzie Dern has like a 13% takedown efficiency, but Markos did the one thing she shouldn't have. So, that's not the type of person that you want to lean on as being, just because she's a UFC veteran. Murata's got all the tools to win here.
Yeah. And as far as fantasy, probably going to go to decision. Picking either of these ladies up.
With the decision, as you're mentioning, it's kind of a pass in fantasy. Murata is a decently safe play, and there are a lot of live dogs on this card, and so Murata would be okay in 50-50 games, cash games, where you're just trying to pick winners. But neither one of these fighters is going to win in spectacular fashion, and that's what you need for those tournament plays where you're trying to pick 6 fighters that beat 10,000 other lineups. You need finishers, and this is not that type of fight. But Murata's okay in cash, but it's kind of a pass in fantasy.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our next fight here, a bantamweight bout between Luis Smolka and Jose Quiñonez. Smolka is the favorite at -150, Quiñonez the underdog at +115, but Smolka also missed weight today, which is worth mentioning. So what do you think about this one?
It's an interesting fight. Smolka's a great jiu-jitsu guy. He can even stay on his back a little too long, fishing for a submission when he should just get up. It's not really going to be an issue here because Quiñonez wants to strike. Quiñonez likes to stay on the outside, kick, and keep distance and just put it on you. And I think, if Smolka came in looking great, on weight, no problem, I think he's a pretty safe play. But if there were any variables, any uncertainty at all, I was going to be ready to pick Quiñonez, and that's what I'm doing. He looked annoyed that Smolka didn't make weight. Smolka, the thing is, we don't know how hard Smolka tried to make weight. He missed by 4 pounds. He was 139 when, they're fighting at 135, but you get the 1 pound grace period. So he could have made 136, but he was 3 pounds over that. And you don't know if they tried that hard. Did he really draw the water out and put himself through the ringer and try his best and exhausted himself and his kidneys are hurting and the doctors are like, no, bro, no more? Or did he know he was going to come in overweight, not try, and it's almost like cheating? Israel Adesanya was complaining about it recently. So there's a few fighters that missed weight on this card, and it brings a lot of variables, and there's really no trend you can follow. These guys who miss weight, they don't always lose and they don't always win. It's a case-by-case situation. So it kind of just makes you want to stay away from it. But I'm picking the underdog, Quiñonez, especially because, like I said, he likes to stay on his bike. He likes to fight from the outside, draw out the fight, and that's going to not be good for the guy who had trouble making weight.
Yeah. And since you're picking the underdog here, Quiñonez is only 6,200 on DraftKings Fantasy. Smolka at 8,000. You're going to be picking either of these guys up.
I think Quiñonez is a good play. Smolka, not necessarily a finisher. You know, both these guys did get finished in the first round in their last fight. Before that, Smolka did have a round 1 KO over Ryan McDonald, but Ryan McDonald should never have been in the UFC. You know, when these guys are fighting good competition, they're losing or going to decision. I think pass on both of them for daily fantasy. I mean, well, Quiñonez is fine, right? Quiñonez is obviously great value at that price, but pass on Smolka. Even if you think he's going to win, he's not going to win in a high scoring fantasy game.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our next fight here. A welterweight bout between Alex Morono and Rhys McKee. Morono is our favorite at -190. Well-rounded fighter, good finisher. Going up against Rhys McKee, who has a significant height and reach advantage here. Underdog at +150. He lost his UFC debut in July, but that was against Khamzat, so you can't really blame him there. What do you think about this one?
Yeah. He didn't land a single significant strike against Khamzat, and
that's a rough debut fight.
And people who saw, who's going to be brought in as a sacrificial lamb for Khamzat, and when it was Rhys McKee, a lot of people were like, no, not him, because he's got a future. He's a stud. Mm-hmm. He looked really comfortable at the weigh-ins. Like when they were staring each other down, he put his hands up and got right in Morono's face. Morono's a little chinny, he is well-rounded. He's a good wrestler. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but we haven't seen any of that ground game because all he wants to do is go in there and strike. His last fight, he got knocked out by Khaos Williams, who's not that great. Obviously, Khaos Williams would slaughter me, but these are all UFC fighters. But as far as UFC fighters go, Khaos Williams, we'll talk about it more. But, Morono got knocked out by him just kind of in a wild, standing in the middle of the octagon, hooking, throwing hook combos, and Morono got caught. He's not got the greatest chin. If he wrestled and took McKee down, I think he would be. I think that should be his game plan. But we haven't seen any evidence that he's going to go in there and execute that game plan. We think he's going to strike. McKee has a lot of edges here. Taking McKee. Taking McKee, the underdog.
All right, and are you picking him up for fantasy? Only at 5,400. Morono at 9,000.
So yeah, it's interesting. Every lineup's kind of a case by case basis. If you're needing a cheap fighter, I think McKee is a great option.
Yeah.
In the GPP games where you're trying to hit that big jackpot, you want finishers. And I think McKee could finish. And also you want lesser known fighters. It sounds weird, you want to leave some salary on the table. The optimal lineup in GPP never spends all their salary. So it's a little bit of a weird thing. You need leverage, we refer to it as. It's, fighters that aren't that highly owned. In cash games, you just want guaranteed winners. So McKee, I'd say, is a great GPP play, not a great cash play. Morono, at that price tag, I think Morono's a pass in DFS all the way.
Yeah.
I think if Morono wins, it's going to be by laying, not laying prey, but by wrestling.
All right, moving into our next one here. Women's strawweight between Ashley Yoder and Miranda Granger. Granger is the favorite here at -190. Yoder, the underdog, at +135. What are your thoughts on this one?
It's really kind of a difficult fight. Classic striker versus grappler. Granger is a better striker. Yoder, if Yoder can get her down, she's very heavy on top. In Granger's last fight, she fought Amanda Lemos, and it wasn't a great performance. Amanda Lemos was outstriking her for the short little time they were on their feet, then put her down. There was lots of scrambles. Granger, to her credit, didn't stay on bottom. She was just nonstop fishing for submissions, leg locks, just creating space, creating scrambles. Pardon. And it ended up getting her an opportunity to get back to her feet, but she...
Your ring light just went off.
Did it get unplugged? You're seeing it, folks. You're seeing it.
I don't know what happened. Everything else in the plug is working.
All right, yeah, we'll just keep going. So, Yoder, I think Yoder's going to lose. Granger's got the striking edge, and if Yoder gets her down, I think Granger's going to be really just aggressive, very, very risky, and just scramble, get out of there, go for submission. She's going to have an opportunity to get back to her feet, and she's going to have the edge when she does. get on her feet. Granger doesn't fight with she doesn't train with anybody that good. She doesn't really come from a good training camp. There's nobody notable that she trains with, whereas Yoder is in a great training camp.
Yeah.
But Granger has 2 in a row fights come in on short notice. This is the first fight she's had in a long time where she actually had a training camp that was designed around her opponent. I think Granger is going to show us a pretty nice performance here, and she's probably just going to stick and move and outpoint Yoder for a decision win. Either way, this fight to go to decision is a parlayable lock. I think it's minus 285, but it is guaranteed that this fight goes to decision.
Yeah.
Whichever one of these women you like, if you want to choose them to win, pick them by decision. We always tell you not to get too greedy with your props and methods, but my God, this fight is going to decision.
Yeah.
So for DFS, no, don't play them.
Yeah, to say the least.
Yeah.
So next up, we have Hansen versus Cory McKenna, another women's strawweight. Hansen has considerable reach advantage here. She is the favorite at minus 240, and McKenna the underdog at plus 185. McKenna coming into her UFC debut after winning on the Contender Series. So what do you think about this one?
It's a really tough one. Yeah, it's weird. McKenna's McKenna's taller, but has really short arms. Her nickname's the Hobbit. She had trouble making weight. That second breakfast will get you. That second breakfast gets you every time, I know. Yep. So the thing is, everyone thinks Kay Hansen's just this super wizard submission artist. She had a flying armbar submission win in round 3 against Jinyu Frey in her last fight. Jinyu Frey's not that great. She could not get Jinyu Frey down. She was 1 for 10 on her takedown attempts. She was just trying desperately to get Jinyu Frey down. And finally pulls off that, Hail Mary, half-court buzzer beater type of third round flying armbar submission. Cory McKenna, strong wrestling base. She trains with Uriah Faber and the guys at Team Alpha Male. She comes from a family of fighters. And she actually has a little bit better striking. Kay Hansen probably has cleaner, more technical striking, but, Cory McKenna gets in there and throws. She kind of brawls, and she has higher volume. She just puts on a nice pace with some heavy striking. Yeah. Really what it comes down to, people think Hansen's going to submit McKenna. I don't see it. McKenna, we watched her on Contender Series. She fought Vanessa Demopoulos, and I think Vanessa Demopoulos, off her back, is better submission artist than Kay Hansen. So people think that McKenna's going to take Hansen down. She's going to submit her, armbar from guard. I think at this price point, McKenna's a great value for as the underdog.
Yeah, I agree with you there. All right. So safe to say not picking either of these ladies up for fantasy as well. Probably expecting it to go the distance here. And
you're exactly right. McKenna, as the underdog, I think should be a great punt play. Because even if she loses, she's going to score a little bit. They're going to either stand and have highly unexciting striking, or McKenna's going to get a couple takedowns. So I think even if she loses, she's going to score at least 30 points. But I think she has a decent chance to win, and at that price point, it's a good cash option, 50-50 option, double-up option. But I don't think either one of these fighters is going to end up in the optimal lineup as far as GPP games go, where you need finishers. So,
right.
Kind of a pass overall, but McKenna might be a decent option in cash games at that price.
All right, moving into our main card here. We've got a catchweight at 195 between Brendan Allen and Sean Strickland. Exciting fight here. Allen was supposed to fight last week, and Strickland just fought 2 weeks ago. This is basically a pick'em fight. We've got Strickland at minus 103 and Allen at minus 122. Allen coming off of a 7-fight win streak, and a lot of people are favoring Allen. Tapology has 82% in his favor, and I agree with that. What do you think?
I agree too. We like Brendan Allen a lot. We really wanted him to fight Ian Heinisch because that was kind of a pick'em fight, and I think he would beat Ian Heinisch, every day of the week and twice on Saturdays, which is when they fight. Allen has great grappling. It's not boring. It's not just top pressure where he's just trying to lay and pray, and it's not submission or bust, that can get you in trouble sometimes. He's got a great combination of transitions, ground and pound, and submission when you leave it open for him. he's an improving striker. You know, he's okay on his feet. He's better than Jack Marshman. Sean Strickland should have the advantage on his feet. You know, Sean's got great kind of footwork and just great head movement, great technical combos, you know, straight punches and great volume and pace, but not a lot of power. We remember him, you know, third round, putting it on Jack Marshman all around and trying to go down, Jack. You know, Sean's a really funny guy, really entertaining guy. He's funny at the weigh-ins today. He's telling the weigh-in guy, oh, you're so much better than that Dubai guy who just says 156 and smacks the thing over. And, you know, he's got the weigh-in guy laughing. And then when they're coming out for the stare downs, he's like joking, he's in back. Like, you know, Sean Strickland is just a character, super cool guy. He looks super comfortable today at weigh-ins, but so did Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen was doing the championship belt thing, saying, give me that title.
Yeah.
I do think, especially in the small cage, everybody drink. We said small cage. We're in the apex. We're taking Allen. Mm-hmm. And I think after this fight, Allen is going to have a lot of hype. A lot of people are going to be really hyped up about him.
And Allen is much cheaper on fantasy too. So are you picking either of these guys up?
Yeah, I think either one of them is a fine play. You know, if Strickland wins, he's going to be pointing up. You know, putting on a lot of volume. If Allen wins, it's going to be by takedowns, significant strikes on the ground, and maybe a submission finish. And yeah, this line has moved a little bit. You know, Strickland was kind of the favorite at one point, and that's when the DraftKings prices came out. Yesterday there were pick'ems. Today money's coming in on Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen's now the favorite, as you mentioned. Slight favorite, right? So that makes you feel good about your pick. You know, like you don't cash tickets by beating a line movement. But it makes you feel good when the money's coming in on the person that you think's going to win. So yeah, you know, it's looking good for Brendan Allen. And again, the small cage. I don't think Sean Strickland can dance around. You know, I don't mean that negatively. He's a very exciting fighter, but I don't think he's going to be able to prevent the takedown for a full 15 minutes in the small apex cage.
Yeah, you just said it two more times.
Apex, yeah, small.
All right, our next one is a middleweight between Antonio Arroyo and Eryk Anders. Anders is the favorite here at minus 137. Arroyo the underdog at plus 110. What are your thoughts on this one?
It's an interesting one. Eryk Anders missed weight. You know, Eryk Anders is a former middleweight, moved up to light heavyweight. That's when we saw him fight Thiago Santos. He got finished by those Travis Brown elbows, you know, at the end of the second round. Couldn't make it to his corner. Now he's coming back down to middleweight. Had trouble making weight. You know, he missed weight. So I was already leaning towards Arroyo. You know, he's 6'3", he's huge for this division, really well-rounded. He's kind of finish or be finished. Arroyo's a very exciting fighter. He's a finish or be finished guy. His last fight was a unanimous loss to Jotko, but other than that, that's one of his few decisions. Really exciting fighter, Arroyo is. He looked great at weigh-ins. I think the underdog's gonna get it here. You know, Anders, he's been around for a long time. He won a national championship with Nick Saban at Alabama, like, you know, a lifetime ago. People, I think, just his name recognition is getting him some bets. Yeah. If he were to wrestle, he might have an advantage there, but we haven't seen his wrestling game in forever. So yeah, I think Arroyo is. I think if you're just picking one fighter to win and you want to know the best value on the card, I think it might be Arroyo as that slight underdog. I think he's got a really good chance to beat Anders.
And you're going with the underdog and said he's finish or be finished, so that sounds like a pretty good fantasy pickup. Arroyo's only at 6,000, so what are you thinking there?
You said it. You know, either one of these guys would actually be a decent play for that reason, but, you know, at that price point, Arroyo...
yeah,
I think Arroyo's like a must play to be. You know, he's not for sure going to win. Don't go put the house on him. But even if he loses, he's going to be scoring a decent amount. Yeah, I think you should just be heavily exposed to this fight in both directions. But if you're playing 3 lineups, I think Arroyo in 2 and Anders in 1.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our next fight here. We've got a welterweight between Abdul Razak Alhassan and Khaos Williams. Alhassan is our favorite here at minus 240. Khaos has the height and reach advantage, coming off of a 7-fight win streak, and he is the underdog in this fight at plus 187. So what are you thinking about this one?
It's pretty, it's a really exciting fight. This is the fight on the card that is least likely to go to decision. Alhassan, came into the UFC not just on like 6-fight win streak and not just 6-fight finish streak, but a 6-fight first round finish streak. And most of those were in the first minute. Like, he just came in knocking everyone out in 45 seconds. Comes into the UFC, like, okay, no more of this, right? Knocks out Charlie Ward, not the basketball player, the MMA fighter, in like 45 seconds. The only times he's lost is by decision. So his last loss was to Munir Lazez. We watched that. Munir, it's the only time I've ever seen rope-a-dope work in UFC. He just stood there against the cage, let Alhassan wear himself out, and then he was landing these really nice, like, just straight elbows, kind of like we saw cut up, Joe Jua a couple weeks ago. His other loss before that was to Omari Akhmedov, who's a great wrestler. We just saw him have a close fight, against Chris Weidman a couple months ago. So Alhassan is just a first-round knockout master. The last fight, he missed weight against Munir Lazez and ends up gassing. He had a great first round. He's putting it on him, but Lazez is just kind of laughing, standing there taking it, and then Lazez puts it on him the whole second and third rounds. And then, as long as Alhassan made weight and didn't have any problems, Alhassan would be a lock parlay piece, and he freaking misses weight again. But Khaos Williams knocked out Alex Morono in his last fight in like 30 seconds or 43,
I think it was
very
27.
fast. Nice. 27 seconds. Alex Morono's a good fighter, been in the UFC for a long time. You think, oh, Khaos Williams must be pretty good. I don't think Khaos Williams is that good. Not very technical with striking. He has nice kicks, actually, but his punches are always coming like from his hips. Really like a brawling style. Yeah. Even that knockout against Morono was just like rock'em sock'em robots type of thing. Just two guys throwing 4 heavy hooks each, and one of them was going to get hurt. It was Morono. Yeah. But Khaos Williams, like, he'll throw 4 hooks and not even touch anything. He'll throw 4 hooks and be 6 inches away from his target, so Alhassan should absolutely style on him. If Williams was a little more technical, a little taller, a little better defensively, I think he'd absolutely have a chance to draw Alhassan into the second and third round and tire him out. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Alhassan's going to knock him out in under 1.5 rounds, not necessarily in the first. So I think if you pick Alhassan, pick him by knockout.
Yeah.
And if you pick Williams, I think pick him by decision. Alhassan does not get knocked out. He doesn't even get hurt. The only way he loses is if you lay on top of him or completely gas him out. So, this would be a lock parlay piece. It's almost become kind of a pass. We don't know what the weight miss means. We don't know how hard Alhassan tried to make the weight. So, I think if you want to bet it, pick Alhassan by knockout or pick Williams by decision. Williams by decision is a pretty juicy line. So that might be worth looking at.
Williams is a pretty decent price in fantasy as well. Williams at 5,000, Alhassan at 9,400.
I think so, especially if Alhassan made weight. This fight is a must play in fantasy, whichever one. Like, if you can afford Alhassan, you put him in 80% of your lineups, and then you put Williams in 20% of your lineups as a cheap underdog. That would make a ton of sense. This weight cut makes it a little iffy, but still, I think have one of these guys in almost every single lineup. And Williams by decisions plus 850. Yeah.
All right, moving into our main event of the evening, a lightweight bout between Rafael dos Anjos and Paul Felder. Dos Anjos, the favorite here at minus 186. Felder, the underdog at plus 160. Felder does have a slight height advantage, but the reach is just about the same. And even though he's stepping in with 5 days notice, he looked good and strong at the weigh-ins, but Rafael dos Anjos also looked ripped at the weigh-ins. So What are you thinking about this one?
Yeah, as long as Rafael didn't have trouble making weight, he's a former 155-pound champ, had to move up to 170. Now he's back at 155. As long as he made weight with no problems, it's all in on dos Anjos, and that's what happened. Felder is a great fighter. It's interesting. Dos Anjos loves to throw leg kicks. Well, Felder checks leg kicks very nicely. Dos Anjos is a power striker. Felder's extremely durable. Has been TKO'd once, and that was a long time ago. Nobody even really hurts Felder. He stands there striking with Dan Hooker, and he, bleeding all over the place. Never gets dazed. He's just extremely durable. Yeah. Very granite chin, right? Felder, like I said, he looked great. He was the first one on the scale today. He was ready to go. And he looked a little bit relieved to make weight. He kind of clapped hands and, did that kind of praying type of clap, like a very just relieved reaction when he made weight. But I don't think it's going to matter. Dos Anjos wrestling. So, you know, Felder gets taken down by strikers. Dos Anjos absolutely has a wrestling and submission edge here. I think just parlaying, I think Dos Anjos is great value at -210 or whatever he is right now. But if you want to bet him by submission, that's plus 600. I don't hate that at all. And, you know, the line's been moving a little bit, not very much, but it's going to continue. People are going to continue pouring money in on Dos Anjos. So I would recommend getting on that. Maybe parlaying him and Mays, him and Murata, him and Yoder Granger to go to decision. Something like that makes a ton of sense. But if you just play Dos Anjos straight up and you get 50%, you get your money back plus 50%, that's awesome. That's better than almost all bettors this weekend. Yeah. That's better than, you know, millionaires do with their stocks and their, you know, with just like the interest in what have you that they get, right? Like getting your money back plus a little bit of juice, 50% juice on a 2-1 favorite. That's awesome. I think Dos Anjos should be like a 3 or 4-1 favorite here. You know, Felder's got the height and reach, but Felder is not going to finish Dos Anjos. I don't see how Felder could win this, except if Dos Anjos had a terrible weight cut and gasses 7 minutes into this 25-minute fight, and that's not what we saw today. Dos Anjos looked great. Dos Anjos was getting ready to fight Makhachev, who was like a 6-1 favorite over Dos Anjos. Dos Anjos was about to fight a future title contender.
Yeah.
And now he gets, you know, they're both 36, you know, so, but, you know, he gets a 36-year-old guy coming in on 5 days' notice who was training for a triathlon.
Right.
That wrestling is going to be the thing that gasses out Felder most. And that's what Dos Anjos is going to want to do. So, you know, I think it's a great value on Dos Anjos.
Yeah. I mean, he's been preparing and training for this fight at least all year. His last fight was in January or February.
Yeah.
And, yeah, just... Big kudos to Paul Felder. It takes some guts to step in like that.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
It's going to be an exciting fight no matter what.
Very exciting fight. Every fight these guys are in is exciting. You know, Felder, you know, just a fan favorite. He wears a lot of damage. He gets cut. You know, it gets messy fast in there. Dos Anjos, yeah, he's got one more crack at the title in his mind. You know, he's got a couple years left to make a run. Khabib's gone. You know, the division's open. So Dos Anjos was taking this fight against Makhachev extremely seriously. He's ready. He looked great at weigh-ins, like you said.
Yeah. All right, I think that's a wrap on the card for UFC Vegas 14. Anything else you want to say?
No, but, you know, you watching, I could tell you're tough. You're very tough. Show us how tough you are. Smash that like. Smash it like Hamzat. Smash it like Khabib. You want to get your bell rung, though, so go ahead and turn on those notifications because when these shows come out, you need to hop on it. We've been helping you beat line movement weeks in a row. So you want to make sure you see these as soon as they come out. Whether that's after the weigh-ins, whether it's on Monday, you know, doing the Dana White Contender Series this week kind of put us back a little bit, but a lot of you slaughtered on the Dana White Contender Series, playing that Mota, Pinheiro, and yeah, Pinheiro was great. She was great. We told you, you know, she went from like -250 to end up being in -450. You know, we were all over that. We got you know, Pinheiro and Patricio Freire parlays. We got, you know, Pinheiro and Dos Anjos parlays. So. But Dana White Contender Series, so it was great. It was a great card, exciting. But it, you know, put us a little bit behind on this one. But the thing is, this card had so many fights we really needed to see the weigh-ins on. The Alhassan, the Brendan Allen Strickland, Dos Anjos. And then it even had guys missing, you know, Smolka and Anders on top of it, right? So this was an extreme... And none of the lines were moving. It wasn't like 2 weeks ago where we were telling you got to get on Romanov right now. These lines were staying pretty steady. I think you know, there's a lot of live dogs on this card, so this was a good week to wait for the weigh-ins. Yeah.
Yeah, so make sure make sure you tap that bell, get your bell rung, comment like McGregor.
Yeah.
And
tap the sub like
yes.
yeah, tap the sub like Justin Gaethje said he wouldn't do against Khabib.
Yeah. Make sure you do all that so you don't miss our future videos. And again, thank you so much for tuning into this one, and we will see you guys next time.